Hi, and welcome to a new episode of The Value Creators. Today's guest will be Lily Wang. She is partner at Expon Capital. Welcome, Lily.
Thank you, Stefan. My pleasure to be here today.
A real pleasure to host you. So, what can you tell us about Expon Capital?
Expon Capital, we are a GP based in Luxembourg, and we are a venture capital fund investing in technology companies. And this is a nutshell of Expon Capital. And today we manage two strategies. The first strategy is to invest in early stage companies who are already based in Luxembourg or who are committing to set up presence in Luxembourg. And the other strategy is to invest in scale-up companies across Europe.
Okay, sounds great. Yeah. What can you tell us about, since you mentioned Luxembourg, about your operations here?
So actually our whole team is based in Luxembourg. So we are completely Luxembourgish-born GP. And Expon Capital, we are founded in 2015. And today I think we have the whole member being here from front office, mid office to back office. And so I think we are completely benefit from the ecosystem and also the legal framework set up in Luxembourg as a GP.
And you're certainly part of those success stories where we're very proud of here in Luxembourg, having front office, having started here, and also being then very successful after so many years.
Yes, and then we also have investors based in Luxembourg into our funds, and we also have portfolio companies based in Luxembourg. So I think we are fully benefit from the ecosystem, and we have a lot of stakeholders based in Luxembourg. I think this is also something that being overlooked in the Luxembourg, investment and private equity and venture capital industry is, you not only have, maybe like compliance valuations, but you also have LPs, family offices, and good companies that funds can invest in as well.
A great example to inspire also the next generation of different extra activities and skills which then have been developed in Luxembourg and work quite well. So including the analysis of different firms, target firms, also doing the fundraising, being in close contact with the ecosystem. Great, that's exactly what we want to push for.
Yeah, and I think we also have the venture capital club within LPA, and we just see more and more members of a venture capital firm being in Luxembourg today.
That's the positive leadership we like.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you invest then into startups or such companies, what are a bit your expectations before doing that?
Maybe I will talk about maybe three misconceptions that people have about investing in startup. I think first, as a VC, we can invest in startup that are pre-revenues. Sometimes when startups they think about fundraising, they say, if I have to talk to VC, I need to have revenues, I need to have everything, and so they're a bit afraid, approach to investors. But what we always, advise entrepreneurs is talk to VC firms as early as possible. If they don't invest in you, worst case, they give you some good feedback to say, okay, what do you need to do in order to be VC investable? Because every company is like a case by case. It's really hard to generalize it. And the second misconception that people have is, it's all about the team, but it's actually not true. It's partly true, but it's not just about betting on the founders. And I can say, like, for example, the recent deals that we have done, like VideoBot and Market Leap and Cascade, which is also a member of IPA.
Absolutely.
For example, when we invest in the three companies, they didn't have a CTO on board. And so it's not a complete team, and that is something acceptable for early stage companies because maybe they have an outsourced IT team that managed to build their product. And as a startup, you have to be practical in the beginning. You cannot have all the resources as you want. But for example, Cascade, they managed to have the Jean-Christophe, who was the managing director at KPMG, to join them as the CTO. And after the investment, so it's not only about betting on the team can be incomplete, but it's about the businesses, and they have attractive businesses to attract the talents to join them along the journey. And also there is sometimes feel a bit sad, it's like sometimes we bet a really great team, a great founders, and you look at their CV, it's like definitely one of the best across any portfolio companies of all the VC funds. And then you see that they're really humble, they're willing to learn, have deep expertise in the sector they're targeting. But unfortunately, it didn't go super well. It goes okay, but not super well. And I think it just because the market is really tough and because the business and the business model itself is not very profitable. So sometimes it's great founders we really admire, really appreciate. But if the business is challenging, even great founders cannot do much about the businesses. So I think in the end, we fundamentally invest in the businesses rather than just betting on the founders. And I think the last misconception that people have is about, okay, whenever there's a trend that VC money is in, and then we are just investing all the hypes. So I think it is also not true. I think give an example is, I think 2 or 3 years back, there's a really popular trend about, investing in a sustainable consumer product. And of course, there's still a lot about, climate tech deals in the consumer space. There are different trends within it. Some trends is going really well, but some trends, they just fade away very quickly because when you ask consumers to pay 3 times of the price for laundry powder, especially in the current economy, it just somehow doesn't, turn into a profitable business model or turn into growth. So I think sometimes we also, as an investor, need to make sure we don't live in our own startup bubble. We need to be connected, with the reality. But some of the trends are long-lasting. For example, in circular economy, and we invest in a company called Refurb. They're selling refurbished phones, and they are very resilient actually to the economic cycle, because when the economy is not doing well, people actually wanted to save more money, so they actually buy secondhand products or electronics rather than the new products. So these are the 3 misconceptions. But to be short on, what do we expect on is, so we expect to invest in business with a big market size and the founders who have the ambition to address such a market, because it's the same amount of time for us to invest in a company who can be sold for 10 million, 100 million, or 1 billion. It's the same time, but the return potential is hugely different. And as well, the fact that if the company has more potential, we can deploy more and more, versus company have small potential, we cannot deploy much. And then the second thing is about the deep understanding of the market, which I think is same as all the funds that you have talked to. And there's a real pain point they need to address, but sometimes you don't have to be let's say 30 years of experience in the industry. But you have to be entrepreneurial, you have to be practical, you have to go in and people tell you, no, this is what I want. But then you go back in again, oh, is this what you think is relevant? So it's being rejected all the time as a startup because you don't have the big name behind you to, you no more work at FactSet, you don't work at, big companies. So you get rejected a lot of times, and then you need to be persistent and to find the right customer and to fine tune and pivot your product. And to find that use case. And then the last thing is about, the business model, whether it's profitable, as we mentioned. And then we also ask ourselves, ask them and say, why are you doing it now? Because we receive 2,000 deals every year. And so likely when founders come to talk to us, it's not the first time we have seen such an idea. Maybe we saw it 10 years ago and didn't go anywhere. So they have to tell us, okay, why now is a good time? AI is also not new. And so why right now you think, you can solve this problem when the business is going to be profitable? Yeah, so this is our expectation. But again, we really encourage all the founders to reach out to investors as early as possible so they can have a case-by-case feedback.
Wow, Lily, that was really condensed exact summary of
Yes.
the do's and don'ts, and certainly also take away and clarify some misconceptions, really to not hesitate to talk to you, to also not just bet everything on the team, and also really be on a business model which really makes sense and which has some upside also for the future. Wow, that was really, really helpful. I hope the audience that you took a few good, interesting notes for the future.
Yeah, I hope that investors do not sound like scary to some of the founders.
No, that's the reality. If you want to
Yeah.
be successful entrepreneurial, I think it's good that you first need to compare yourself to the best, and then
Yeah.
certainly also have the best tools and the best recommendations from really successful players already in the industry.
Yeah, exactly.
Completely makes sense. Yeah, so that leads us certainly to the question now, the value creators. How do you create value? And finally, how do you measure it?
Yeah, sure. So there are like two, let's say, ways I think we mainly create value. I think it's first is through our network, and secondly is through our experience. And I think what I can highlight about our network is, first, Expon Capital is not just, the people who work at Expon Capital, it's also, us as a platform, because we have already, over the past 7 years, invested in more than 30 companies. And these, when the new entrepreneurs that we invest in, they will be part of this, community of entrepreneurs. That people have made the same mistakes, or you haven't made their mistakes yet, but you can learn and you can talk to them. And so this is also the community among the founders, and also they can share with you how they recruit people, etc. And then it's also about the people who are the advisors that we have, who are top executives, from Amazon, who are top executives, from financial services, and they can provide their input. And it's also, the whole Luxembourg, startup ecosystem, and think, also, LPA as well. I think Cascade is a good member is a member of SPA, and I think they have benefits also from being a member and being part of this community. I think this is like an entire community around, and the people that we can make introduction to help these companies to grow. And what also distinguishes us from other funds is we have many corporates as investors. And these corporates, like, for example, whether it's Cargolux or whether it's SCS Satellite or it's Post, they all have marketing department. So if you're a startup addressing the marketing technology, you can try with different clients that are our LPs. And then you can also, if you're selling, password management, you can also, no matter what kind of technology or your fintech, your payment, you can always, we can always make introductions to our LPs. And I think that matters a lot to early stage companies, because it's quite easy to sell to small customers. But if you want to sell to big corporates, as a kind of startup, is with the help through our platform, we really, I think, facilitate this process to have that important logo as clients as very beginning. And this is how that they can use this and then replicate the case and further scale up, so to sell to more customers. I think this is about our network, and we're willing to share with every companies that we have invested in. And then it's also about our experience, and experience is something that is maybe hard to quantify, and to say like everybody have a bit of experience. We all have experience in different ways, and then maybe there's one thing we'd like to highlight is, whenever we invest in a startup, they benefit from the experience from everybody at Expon Capital, not just, the person who make the deal. Because like yearly, we also rotate the board members that we, or like the portfolio we take in charge. So we make sure that portfolio that benefits really from the experience of everybody within the team. And I think it's the same about the network. For example, if a company is doing a fundraising, and usually for startup they don't have M&A advisors to help them to do so. What we do is really we have like a shared VCs that each of us have good connections, and all of us is helping each portfolio companies to fundraise, to contact different VC firms. Same as debt providers, loan providers. So it's like really the whole team is helping every single startups that we invest in. So I'll say this is about how we create value. But concretely, I think is, for early stage company that we invest in, sometimes we have every 2 months we have a board meeting, or every month we have a board meeting. Depends on the startup and how much need or how willingness they are, open they are, to have, these discussions, exchanges. And during these board meetings for early stage startup, we very much focus on, make them stay focused. They don't run around everywhere, and they need to find their ideal customer profiles, and they need to find the geographies to focus on, need to find their core product, and they need just to stay focused and find where is the ideal customers, and how to make sure that their product address the ideal customer. So it's all about staying focused. And once you reach the scale-up stage, it's all about international expansion. It's about upselling, partnership, pricing on the business model. It's about operational scaling. So this is, I think, concretely, what are the main topics that we work on the board level.
This is brilliant, because we absolutely also believe in the power of networks, and certainly
Yeah.
of collective intelligence via associations like ours, and also many other kind of places where then, exactly as you said, people are central and they make a real difference with their experience and also their energy to bring those potential founders and successful founders then to the next stage and really share what they were able to get over the last years, and that really makes so much sense, and that underlines also the active angle of our industry, of the active management.
Yeah, exactly. And I think maybe one thing I'd like to emphasize on, so previously I also work in investment banking, so helping a lot on priority clients doing buy and build, bolt-on acquisitions, so debt financing, leverage financing. I think this is what. For startup companies, they also, when they're at scale-up stage, they also explore debt solutions. They also explore, potential consolidation opportunities. But what we see at early stage and and scale-up stage as well is it's mainly about building the business, right? It's less about the financial instrument. It's more about having a complete team. When you don't have a CTO, you have a CTO. And sometimes, like when we invest in, only founders are selling. So now they need to hire the first salespeople. How do you manage the first salesperson? How do you manage a bigger salesperson? And some didn't have customer success team. So when you have big enterprise customer, you need to have customer success team. And you cannot do it too late, otherwise your customer will turn away. So I think even as an investor, I feel like every day we are very much motivated, and we think this is a very interesting job because we are also very much close to small businesses, and you see them building your first step, second step, and third step, and it's very concrete, and it's not just numbers on your Excel files or on your presentations.
And again, nurturing them proactively, that completely makes sense. And also showing your skin in the game, sharing hands-on experience. Yes, okay, that really, really makes sense. Now, you have described how it works,
Yes.
what you do. Do you have a few examples you would like to share with us concretely with certain firms where then you applied that value creation playbook or experience, and then when it really went in the direction you expected?
Yeah, and I think I can share maybe examples first on the, let's say, early stage side, and the example on the scale-up stage side.
Great.
I think the early stage side is something that people talk about less, and it's kind of mystery. And sometimes, startup you just see, oh, they raised like a 10 million Series A, oh, they're successful. But when we invest in the team, they usually like 4 people, and they're far from reaching 1 million recurring or 2 million recurring revenue stage. And for example, when we invest in video bots, so they already have a product and they have several customers, but the customers that they have, I say, many customers as smaller customers. And then after we go in, we say, okay, now you're going to build out your sales team, you'll start selling. What we help them to do is like, first, you need to focus. You cannot, sell everywhere, right? So their focus is really in the Nordics, in Luxembourg. Why is that? Is because first you get a customer in your country. It's so much easier to sell to other customers within the same country. And so this is what first thing we have them do is focus on the geography. And second thing is, so they have first telecom customers in Finland. And then in Luxembourg, we have Proximus as our investor. So we also made the introduction to Proximus, and they immediately see the value. And then they have the second telco as a customer. And now they say, okay, we can also be vertically focused. And now they sign telcos in Spain, and they have telcos in Australia, in other countries. And so this is what we also help them to say, okay, focus on the right vertical, build the use cases, and this is how you can grow. And I think also maybe another example, for example, on Cascade, which is also you're very familiar with.
Absolutely.
And I think for Cascade, it's like initially we say like, oh, they have built a team. Now they need to hire salespeople, and they need to how to scale. And when we also share the experience we have from other portfolio companies, say, oh, why don't you try partnership? And initially, I think for customers, I say, oh, but who I can partner with? So it's like something that they didn't thought deep through. But you probably have, also seen their partnership announcement. They are partnered with Domos. They have partnered with Palena, because now they think you through, and they start with their partnership, and it's really good kickoff. So this is all the very small things that we have learned from other startups about scaling, that we can share with early stage startups about how you can focus. And then the other point is for both of the companies is also about the upselling potentials. For example, I think for VideoBot initially they were focusing on small customers, and we said now you have big customers, and how do you analyze which customer you should focus on? Smaller ones you sell easy, it's quicker, you get them on board, versus the bigger ones, it's longer sales cycle, it's more painful, but it's a bigger contract. And then they did their analysis. They realized, okay, it's just so much more profitable to focus on the medium and the enterprise size of the customers, because you go in, you have one contract value, then it's so much easier to upsell. And then in the end, what they calculate on was their acquisition cost of a customer, what is the revenue the customer can bring over the years. They're just a no-brainer to completely focus on medium-sized and enterprise customers. And so this is also the exercise we ask them to do, and we use different metrics to help them to say, okay, now you focus on which customer segment, and now they find their ideal customer profile, and they have a really big focus on upsell. I say my Cascade, they recently launched their investor portal, and they are going to sell to the same existing client base additional products that really help them to increase their profitability of the company. So these are the two early stage companies that we can give some concrete examples about how things happen. And because sometimes people say, oh, startup just double and triple their revenues. But it happens because they have tried different things. Sometimes it's a mistake, sometimes it's not. But if you don't try, you will never know, and you will never be great.
Yes, and it's trial and error, and then afterwards also then the capacity of pivoting or then really going in the right direction if it is really fitting the business model. Yes.
Yeah, and you just need to come out of your comfort zone to say, okay, this I've not thought about it, but let me try. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, but you have to try it out.
But I'm particularly proud of what you said also about the partnership of Cascade with some other players. I think that also completely shows and confirms the interest of the industry for private equity tech solutions, which then came together in this famous PE Tech Club, where also we have done a mapping exercise, and it also helps to bring that community together. And here, look at the result. That completely makes sense because they found some different interesting angles where they are complementary, and then together they can really achieve new highs in the future.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely a great project and events. We see like really because I think many people talk about tech solutions, but I think his LP made it, really happening to say, okay, let's really meet, these tech companies, let's make things happen, and let's see how the collaboration can be done.
Yeah. Buyers and sellers or users, yes, that completely makes sense then.
Exactly.
Okay, good. And the late stage, you
yes.
wanted to share there some super interesting examples,
Yeah,
I assume.
I think it's a scale up stage, and the definition of a scale up stage is usually company doing 2 million recurring revenues up to 20 million recurring revenues, and afterwards is really like late stage where like growth equity fund or PE fund or mid market fund could also invest in. But at the scale-up stage, I think I can share on the company. First is the phone refurbished company we have invested in, as well as like Salon Key. I think for both of the companies, I think they have made significant let's say progress in terms of international expansion. Since we invest in, I think for refurbed, they expanded from 5 countries at the time of our investment, which are mainly the DACH region, to 12 countries nowadays over 3 years. And they are market leaders in most of the countries, or they will become market leaders in the countries they're recently entering. So that's also something that we have seen is that how quickly you can deploy this playbook in different countries, and also that market analysis to choose the right country to enter. And it also shows that if you invest in a company with a big market potential, so maybe there are also other players who are competitors in Europe, but there are just so many rooms that you can expand to. And I think this also a good thing of being a VC fund based in Luxembourg, because in all the company we invest in, they have to go internationally. There's no alternative. Versus like maybe funds in France, they can invest in French startup and the startup only stay in France. For us, it's not an option at all. And the same for Salon Key, when we invest in them, I think there were only 1 countries, and basically Luxembourg, and today they're in like more than 5 countries. So I think that's all about have that international expansion and the playbook in order to deploy quickly in each of the country. And for both of the companies, what we have seen is like, so their revenues from 2020 to 2023 have increased by 7 to 10 times. So it's completely amazing result, especially like they were already, companies doing, 2 million to 10 million revenues already, and they can still increase on that speed. And I think one of the important thing is really about once you have a customer, and how do you offer more services to these customers. And when we invest in refurb, they were very much focused on selling refurbished phones. Now they're really multi-category refurbished platform. So they sell you earpod, they sell you laptop, they sell you washing machines, vacuum machines. So it's really a full range of services, and on top of that, they offer many additional services to the sellers on the platform. So we see their margin has increased like by 50% on every order that they have. That's a huge improvement on margin, and they still have more room to improve. And same for Salon Key, and previously they just came as a calendar booking platform, and then they are doing inventory, they're doing payroll management. And they're also partner with Adyen on the payment, which is also a huge part of the value they can bring to their customers. And out of what we see is like by offering more services, and they really increase a lot on their profitability. And this is also what we really emphasize on the scale up stage. It's not just about the growth, but it's about how do you grow it more profitably, and how do you reach that mature space to be a very profitable company. So these are also some of the examples that we have. Is sometimes when you invest in a startup, it's hard to imagine what it will finally become. And it's over the way that building this company, entrepreneurs say, okay, what else I can provide to my customers, and this journey about let's say, discovering your customers, building relationship with customer is never ending. And I think a good example is with Amazon. It was previously a marketplace, but now it's about cloud. Now it's about AI. So that what we also tell our startup companies is like, no matter, sometimes you have proven yourself and you can solve your core product, but what is next? What you need to spend more time with your customers, and you need to constantly reinvent yourself. And particularly with the impact of AI, everybody is talking about it, but we are also talking about it. What is the impact of AI to our portfolio companies? And they need to adapt it, and they need to harness the power of AI. And this is, I think, what is interesting about real day-to-day operation of a business.
Completely, and you highlighted it, constantly refining your business model, looking at new opportunities, reinventing yourself or evolving. That really makes sense. Yes, those are very positive news also about those different firms. Great examples too. You mentioned the scale-ups, which is a very interesting, let's say, part of the ecosystem, because also with the Ministry of Economy, with Lux Innovation, the different incubators, the business angels, ourselves, we also wanted to fortify that whole ecosystem and make the scale-ups live here in Luxembourg a little bit easier. What's a little bit your view on that?
Yeah, so I think, when we set a digital tech fund, and like people also, had doubt when the Ministry of Economy have this mandate. I think there's always doubts about, why there would be, startups in Luxembourg. And I think it was the Scale Up program. I think it's based on already the Scale Up that is today in Luxembourg. And they say, okay, there are Scale Up in Luxembourg, and now it's about how do we make sure there are more scale up in Luxembourg, and there are more support dedicated to scale up companies. But I think on the other side, I think we also need to be very critical about the definition of scale up, right? So, for the definition of, we can say that it's not because you raise money, you're scale up, right? You can raise a significant amount of money, but maybe you have no customers. So it's not maybe a scale up. But I think this program is to help companies to become a proper scale up, and to help companies to make sure that they can reach the criteria of the scale up, and people around can offer them all the say the mistakes and all the reasons why these companies succeeded to become a scale up. It's a still early program, but I think there's a lot of promising prospects coming from the program. And sometimes it's like a chicken egg problem. If you don't have the support, maybe there's no success, and then it's vice versa. So I think I think my colleague Jérôme is actively part of the Scale Up program.
Exactly.
Together with Lux Innovation and with the other stakeholders in the startup ecosystem.
Let's support that great project.
Yeah, exactly.
Lily, really, thanks a lot for sharing all your insights, opening, let's say, the curtain behind Expon, sharing the different strategies, and really here explaining in a very clear manner what is important and what we can do in the future. Fantastic.
Yeah, my pleasure. And again, whether you're interested to learning more about Expon Capital, whether it's like a potential partner, so we are always like to know more people, in our network. And also, if you're entrepreneurs, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
So everything has been said.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot for joining us today, and see you very soon.
Thank you.